chewed up by Goody's tanks. And there we go. So, what does Goody do now? He goes, oh, I killed your shit, let's go kill you. This is kind of a break from all the other decisions that Goody's made throughout this game. It doesn't make sense with the way he's playing. Sure, he's not quite covered for drops, he's not covered for everything, but he's getting a 5th factory. He's got his supply depots to almost maxed, you know, he's pumping units out, he's got a good economy, he's got an equal economy with the Zergs, actually more gas income. He's on top of the Zerg's 4th, which the Zerg hasn't even droned yet. He's got a Banshee up, he's still pumping Hellions. You know, what reason does he have to push here? I guess I would say Goody's reason to push is, oh, the Zerg can expand over here, how do I handle all of it? Well, you've got Blue Flame Hellions, you've got Banshees. Send them out. Is your opponent really going to get enough spores and spines at each base to handle Blue Flames, just a few Blue Flames and Banshees? No, they're not going to be able to do that. What else, you know? What else are you worried about? Broodlords? And this is where we come back to the game. He hasn't scanned the main base once. So, what are you doing, man? You've got no idea if there's a lair. Oh, there's a lair. There is no hive on the way. There's nothing to be worried about as the Terran player. You know what? Just start building a 4th command center. Kill this base, and then just camp your units up on this high ground and down here. And down here. No reason for Goody not to do that. Now, what I believe happened is that in the high-pressure situation, playing Stefano, one of the world's best players, and having him just throw units at you multi-pronged all this time, I feel like it's actually just thrown Goody off his game. Because this attack doesn't really make that much sense. Right on creep. Don't ever be you know, tricked into thinking creep doesn't mean anything. What this creep covering the entire screen the Terran army's on, what that means to me when I'm playing Terran is I actually try to think that there's little symbols everywhere saying plus 100% Zerg bonus, like all units doubly strong when on this area. And that's seriously what you've got to take it as. Because let's look what happens. Sure, he's kind of sieging pretty carefully, but look at this. You've only got 1 tank sieged. Okay, 3 tanks sieged. This is pretty good. Steady sieging. This is nice. Okay, these tanks aren't sieged. Why aren't they sieged? Oh, that's okay. Half a second without sieging. Look at these roaches. They just came out of nowhere, and they're on top of the army. He then focuses... Okay, there is a roach there that he kills, yeah. And then he's just... Lings from behind, close with the tanks before they can even fire a volley. This is just horrible. Such a valuable good army, which Goody could have used with his 90 SCVs to secure a 4th base, and instead he loses his army, loses his advantage, and essentially loses the game at that moment. So, look at this. Okay. Losing all his units, you know, what's he got? 2 tanks, he's producing, you know, 1 tank only right at this moment. Basically we're saying Goody's screwed. Losing mining at this 3rd is pretty much dead because there's almost none left in the main, the natural's even getting low. Burrow roaches popping up, you know, he's trying to throw turrets, he doesn't even have the minerals to afford turrets. He's throwing up a 4th command center somewhere, can't even afford that really. You know, basically, once you lose that core of your army, it's so incredibly hard to replace. And that's why we're saying, you know, look at this. Just a few burrowed roaches just causing so much shit for him. And he's just, you know, in so much trouble, struggling just with roaches and lings. And of course, he's going to be completely surprised when this muta switch comes in. He's like, okay, I've got my 3rd mining. Maybe I'm okay. Oh, wait. There's 15 mutas in my main. And look at these speedlings, you know? Who thought speedlings were so good against tanks? They are freaking incredible. Even with a few blue flames out, really good unit. Having production camped by the mutas, never a good situation to be in. More units streaming in. Roaches and lings are free. And there we go. GG. So, What happened there? What went wrong? Well, everything I said. He moved out, but there were other things he could have improved. Before I go to questions, I do want to look at a few other things that I kind of had noted down as well. So I will swap the screen back, but just a second. So Blue Flame Hellions for map control is kind of what he did there. Grab the fast third, Banshee for additional map control, deny any all-ins, possibly deny the third as well, but unfortunately there were enough queens, there was creep spread, so Stefano could defend it. What else? Massive numbers of factories, but what did he forget? What did Goody screw up? Goody screwed up adding wall-offs to his gameplay. He didn't wall off certain areas of the map. So what am I talking about? What are you talking about, Pig? Okay, so after he's lost his army, sure, he was dead. I don't argue with that. You know, there's units are coming up, but he could have at least held his third completely safely if he had some barracks up here or some depots and such. If these tanks weren't rallied right down there, you know, these tanks, and he kind of just had a sim city across here, across here, across here. Sim citying areas of the maps, walling them off, is actually one of the most important things to do as a mech player. If you're not restricting those avenues, your opponent can keep sending those roaches through, those ling counters through, and they can abuse you for having spread yourself out so thin. Going back to earlier in the game, what was Stefano doing all game? Stefano was friggin' throwing shit at him non-stop. So, gonna fast forward through these areas. Once again, just reviewing. He didn't sim city here. He basically got abused for it. He didn't wall off up here. He didn't, you know, wall off there or anything like that. And sure, maybe he couldn't afford it at these early points when these first ones came through. But just looking at the damage they do shows that you need to do it for the late game, so that these things can't happen in the late game. You know, these lings shouldn't even be getting in here. You should be replacing this wall off instantly.
Base is under attack. Additional.
And then obviously it was that push that killed him. So control your pushes properly is the other point. You know, Zerg can always throw another wave at you. Don't just walk onto creep. You know, here we go, look at this. Killing this roach army. Fantastic, you killed a roach army. Why are you moving onto creep? Stay on the high ground, stay at the watchtower. Push the creep back slowly with your Hellions and your Banshee. Take your time. You do not need to push in. 3-base Terran versus 3-base Zerg, you do not need to attack. This is a mindset a lot of Korean Terrans are starting to take on board, where they're realizing by watching MVP play that you don't actually need to attack a Zerg. If you have equal or more bases than a Zerg, you do not need to attack into them. If you go Mech and then add Ghosts, add some Vikings, there is literally nothing in the Zerg arsenal that can actually handle that. If you sim city correctly, add planetaries, add wall-offs, and steadily take the map, the Zerg cannot deal with that. And that's the way the Terrans should be playing, and it's what they're steadily moving towards. And that's the idea of the mech style. In this scenario, though, Goody got overeager. He attacked against what was essentially a 3-base Zerg when he was a 3-base Terran. No reason to push in there. He could have killed the 4th and been so far ahead. So you've got to just not attack, basically, when you're playing this mech style. You want to draw these games out and be a douchebag. If you're going to play mech, you've got to do it right. I say douchebag, that's my own frustrations. Mech's a great way to play the game. So, what next? What the hell am I meant to be talking about now? I can't even remember. Questions you guys had. So, okay, cool. Pig, how does one throw the excrement at another without losing too much? Yes, so Dead Lizard and Siege, absolutely. Number 1 mech rule, secure the base and then move out. Turrets and SimCity always. What else? You know, should he have camped the Zerg's 4th and let him starve? Absolutely. He thought he could go in and try to kill him. You know, never actually do that. Never. Everyone's saying like rewind 2 minutes and switch screens. Sorry guys, I don't know which part I missed. I'm so retarded. I don't know how to check what time you sent messages either. I'm still getting used to the hotkeys, so I'm not quite that good at doing that. Why do I look so angry when I'm explaining? A question from Dot. I don't know. I think it's because it's hot and I'm wearing a pig on my head. I don't know, I think, yeah, I'm not actually having the best day, which is why I'm probably quite a bit grumpy today, so sorry if that's coming through on the cast. I don't know why, I just woke up on like the wrong side of the bed today. Who knows? So, what else? No one has any other questions, I don't think. So Siege, as Siege is saying, you know, he could have moved up and contained him, but he had to do it slowly, absolutely. Yep. Shorters still has problems against Mech. I don't know, man. Shorters, it's actually pretty easy until you're playing like Grandmaster Koreans, and even then I have really close games with them where something just slightly goes wrong. So you definitely want to, I don't know, just your general rules, split them up, send roaches everywhere. Doing drops an easy way to split your opponent up without having to do all that fancy going around the edges of the map. Doing like a massive drop when your opponent moves his whole force out to defend his 4th base, drop 50 roaches in his main, remax on broodlords or extra roaches. There's simple ways you can play it out. But definitely looking at the way these guys played is really, really helpful. So going back to how you play as the Zerg player, obviously got a lot of Zerg players in the chat. ZvT, you know, what do? What did Stefano do in this game? He built his economy insanely, as they have to invest in production. What else? Well, Roachling counterattacks, literally throwing units away, looking for openings. And, you know, it did cost him. It actually made it really close to losing. He would have, you know, lost his 4th and got contained because he was a bit over-eager with it, but the idea was there. I think definitely adding drops is a safer way to throw units at a Terran opponent because you're guaranteed to, at the very least, knock add-ons down, knock production down, and pull their army out of position. And you can always kind of pick your units up and move them away if you are good at controlling them. Keep expoing while you're throwing units at them, looking for things. Do muta switches, get burrow movement. Upgrade your roaches. As soon as you identify you're playing a mech player, it's okay to get, you know, ranged upgrades. I still like to get melee upgrades. I kind of get confused between which ones I want some games, because melee upgrades so good for your ultras and broodlords, but are you going to survive that long? Don't you just want more damage on your roaches because they're the core of your army? You might have sunlings and banelings, but not that many normally. So it gets kind of really interesting how it works. One of the main things, though, I guess, is not getting thrown off with losing lots of units. Not getting too afraid with that. Being like, yeah, it's, yeah, just keep throwing units, keep building. As long as I keep producing, I'm going to be fine. Don't let those banks build up. So yeah, just checking. I like dragged the chat over. I dragged my Twitch chat over, and now it's all like crazy. So I can't actually see what anyone wrote, so I'm going to reopen that now. Okay.
Can't actually see what anyone wrote, so I'm going to reopen that.
Sorry for the echo, guys. So questions. Siege says, Zerg has to deal with the contain, so if you have the multitasking to do multiple drops along with the slow push, it helps a lot. That's such a good point, Siege. He's saying, like, if you can, while doing this really slow push, maybe drop some blue flames behind the 3rd, drop some blue flames in the main, you know, maybe just even do a Thor drop or something crazy. It actually just, it pisses the Zerg off, it pulls them apart, does so much damage. Are Infestors any good against mechs as well, she? Yeah, Infestors are a great unit. You don't want too many of them though. I mean, Neural is not a really good ability anymore. You know, it's kind of hoping your opponent just doesn't target fire at all, and your Infestors just hopefully actually make it to the fight. Having some in there for Fungal is really nice. I like to catch Hellions when they overextend, as well as if the siege tanks come out too far, you can land Fungals and stop them sieging up. So good. So, it's actually something I've done quite a few times as well, is throw in Fester Bombs. So if your opponent hasn't got turrets with his army, you can go up with a burrowed infestor, throw infestor bombs, infested Terrans next to their units. The tanks will all focus the infestor bomb. 100 life. It takes 3 siege tank shots to kill. So if you put it directly